What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Welcome, and I hope you guys are doing well. So what have I got for you guys today? A new way to beat Hard 90 Griffin, and this is a solo. Now I know what some of you guys are saying, well, who cares if it's a solo if I don't have the champ? Well, I guarantee you guys have this champ. Or at least are guaranteed to get her someday, and she is none other than Syl of the Drakes. But firstly, guys, let's take a look at Griffin, the Griffin's skill kit, starting with this A1. So basically, it's a single target attack that has a 100% chance of fear. But the thing is, this can be resisted. So if you have enough resistance, yes, you can resist this A1 fear. How much resistance, you might ask? Well, if you can get about 350 resistance, then that should allow you to reliably resist those A1 fears. But guys, don't worry. This Syl of the Drakes build does not require you to build high resistance on your Syl. So actually, we're not trying to resist anything of the Griffin. Next up, guys, is the A2 Rock Smash. So this is an AoE that transfers all the debuffs on Griffin to each one of your team members. So guys, there are three ways to deal with this A2. Firstly is to not bring any debuffs against the Griffin, and therefore nothing will be thrown back at you. That's one option. Number two is to use debuffs that you don't really care are thrown back at you. For example, HP burn, it's not that big a deal if the Griffin throws it back at you, to be honest. Number three is to go high resistance route to resist that debuff transfer. That is an option. So what is going to be our option? Well, it's going to be number two. So there are going to be a few debuffs that we're going to use against this boss. And those debuffs, we don't really care if they're thrown back against us. Now, you can build some resistance into your team, which would be a good idea, so that you can sometimes resist that debuff transfer. But even if you don't most of the time, it's okay. Next up is the A3 Death Gust. So this starts off with an AoE buff removal that cannot be resisted, so irresistible, and then this hits everybody with a really hard AoE. So how do you deal with the A3? Well, two ways. Firstly, you can simply buff your team and not really care about the timing of it. So if Death Gust removes your buffs or not, then you don't really care about it. Or you can try to time your buffs right after Death Gust. Now it's up to you. Our method is going to be the first method. We're going to use a few buffs, but we don't really care if they're removed or not. Next up, guys, the first passive here, Divine Strike. It's super annoying. Whenever any of your champions' HP drops below 50%, they're going to get a lightning strike on their head, and that's going to put a 100% heal reduction on them for 2 turns. So there are a few ways you can deal with this. Firstly, you can cleanse that heal reduction. Another way is you can resist that heal reduction. And our way, the third way, is you never want to get that heal reduction in the first place. You never want this skill, Divine Strike, to proc at all. That means at all times for Syl of the Drakes, her HP must stay above 50%. Remember, guys, I said this is not going to be a very high resistance Syl of the Drakes. Next up, guys, is the passive Celestial Bonds. So what is this passive? Well, just to simplify it, every time the Griffin takes a turn up until turn 20, his damage and speed is going to increase. All right, once you hit 20, it's not going to increase anymore. But up until then, every time he takes a turn, it's going to increase. He's going to hit harder and harder. He's going to move faster and faster. And past turn 10, he's going to start to ignore things like unkillable, block damage, and shield buffs too. So how do you deal with this passive Celestial Bond? Well, one way is to try to kill the Griffin as quickly as possible. Normally, this involves ally attack champions. So if you see the fastest runs for the Griffin, they usually involve ally attack champions. The idea here being you want to beat the Griffin as quickly as possible so he can't build up his damage. Remember, once he gets to turn 20, that's max damage. He hits really hard. Another way to go about this is with certain debuffs like decrease attack, decrease crit damage, decrease crit rate that can kind of minimize how much damage the Griffin is doing even with those buffs. And the last thing that we're going to do, the strategy that we have, is we're just going to tank it. We're going to be fighting the Griffin at max damage for the majority of the fight. That is past 20 turns, plus we don't have any decreased attack, decreased crit damage, or decreased crit rate. It's pure tankiness. Next up, guys, got the passive here, Fair Wind. So basically, if someone tries to decrease the turn meter of the Griffin, then the Griffin will in turn decrease the turn meters of everybody on your team and stun anybody whose turn meters are decreased to 0. So normally, this is the attacker a lot of times, because when you attack, you have 0 turn meter, right? So if he decreases it further, yeah, you got 0, and he's going to stun the attacker a lot of the times. Plus, if you try to increase your team's turn meter, sorry, he's going to increase his own as well. So how do we deal with this with Syl of the Drakes? Because she does have a turn meter reduction on her A1, well, we're just not really going to care about it. Now, if you want to, you can make your Syl very low accuracy so you don't really land that turn meter decrease too much so you don't get counter stunned. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Sill's gonna get stunned a lot of the time. It doesn't matter. And as far as all the almighty passives here, they're really similar for a lot of the bosses, so you guys can read it if you want, but I'm just gonna skip over it. All right, guys, so here's your team going into this fight. Now, you guys might think, well, wait a second, didn't you say it was a solo? Yeah, it's a solo for the boss, for the Griffin, but we're using Drex to get us through the wave. So technically, it can be anybody. Anybody you want. Drexar is 100% not required. And I'm probably going to say that a few more times because a lot of you guys, you skip and you see these like frames of this and you think, wait a second, this isn't right. No, this is right. It's still the Drake's soloing like 90% of the boss. She is not going to revive Drexar when he dies. He is meant to get her to the boss, and that is it. He's going to die. We're going to turn off Sill of the Drakes' revive, and that is it. Once again, fill out your team with anybody you want. Really, you want to get her to the boss safely and quickly. Now, this isn't the quickest, but this is kind of like the bare minimum that I was trying to use to show you how to get to the boss through those waves. So I would love to show you like Sill getting through the waves all by herself and getting to the boss, but it's a little hard because there are a few Pixnials in the waves leading up to the boss. Now, what's the big deal about her? I mean, she's not going to kill you off. It's because she puts that continuous heal and increased defense on everybody, and it makes it really hard to get through those waves just with Sill as a solo. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just would be so time consuming to show you that. So once again, remember Drexar's role is really only to get you through those waves. Even if you died on wave 2 and you got to the boss safely, it wouldn't matter. Drexar is 100% not needed for this battle. Now, Drex, once he does get to the boss, will do some damage against the boss, but I think you guys get the point. Drex is gonna die off early. It is Sill of the Drakes soloing the Griffin when he has max damage. That is 20 Sky Bonds. At that point, Drex is nowhere to be found. As far as team setup, all you need to do for round 3 and Sill of the Drakes is to turn off her revive. Yes, I said turn off her revive. Turn it off. Now, I know what some of you smart Alex out there are saying, well, why don't we keep on Sill of the Drakes' revive so that she can keep on reviving Drexar and we kill off the boss faster. We can keep up that HP burn. Well, here's why. When Sill of the Drakes revives, she puts an ally protection on that person that she revived, and this is a strong version ally protection where she's going to take 50% of the damage of that person that she revived. So in short, she's going to take a ton more damage when she revives people because of that ally protection. So can you use a revive strategy with Sill of the Drakes and Drexar here once you get to the boss? Of course you can, but your gear has to be a lot better. Once again, yes, you can keep on her revive once you get to the boss and revive somebody like Drexar infinitely, but your gear has to be a lot better because she's going to be taking so much more damage when she has that ally protection on. So it's up to you. Do you have the gear for it or not? If you do have the endgame gear, then of course, keep on her revive and keep on reviving Drexar, keep up that HP burn, and you're going to kill this boss off a lot faster. But if you don't, then you need to turn off her revive because her revive is what's killing you. So this comp is full auto. Now remember, the only thing you need to remember about the skill instructions is to turn off Sill's revive once you get to the boss, but that's it. And I would recommend targeting the Pixnials in the waves before the boss just to get you through those waves faster. So I believe one time in this fight, Sill's HP drops below 50%. And yeah, she does make a comeback from there, but ideally, you never want her HP to drop below 50%. So how much HP do you want? Enough that she really never falls below 50% unless you get really unlucky. So really, that's what you're trying to go for. You want to go for more healing than she's losing, getting a net gain of health versus a net loss of health over a lot of turns. On to Seal's gear stats and masteries. So I have her in a regeneration set and an immortal set. On to her total stats. So I have her HP at 84,000. I have the attack at 2100, defense 2600, speed at 224, crit rate 37%, crit damage 110%, resist 285, and accuracy 266. Now this particular Seal is completely unbooked. Onto her masteries. So down the offense tree here, we do have Life Drinker. So when she's under 50% health, she's going to heal for 5% of damage dealt. Works really well in conjunction with War Master here. So we're doing bonus damage based off enemy max HP. And down the support tree, down this left side here, we're getting these for extra healing, especially with Seal's passive. And here we're also getting Master Hexer. So this potentially extends the duration of her A1 decreased speed by 1 turn. Alright guys, that is it. If you're having trouble with the Griffin, I really hope this helps you out. As far as Drexar goes, I'm not going to show his gear stats and masteries because, as I mentioned, he's not essential to this comp, he's not necessary to this comp, and if I showed him, people would think that he was necessary. You guys will see. There will be comments that say, I don't have Drexar yet. Who do I sub in for him? In any case, guys, thanks for watching, and if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and share. Turn on all notifications. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.